Thanks for joining me. I'm Steve Daw, in for Julie Phillip. New York State's health commissioner has issued a warning about whooping cough. Statistics show a disturbing rise in the number of cases of the respiratory disease in the first part of this year. From January to June of 2012, this year, there were 970 reported cases. That's compared to 931 during all of last year. Here to talk about whooping cough, also known as pertussis, is Dr. Jeffrey Weinberg of the University of Rochester Medical Center. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What is whooping cough, pertussis?
Yes, we can use both names. I tend to use pertussis. It'll slip out of my mouth more than whooping cough. It's a bacterial infection that has been with us for centuries, likely, and mostly it can affect people of all ages, but the illness effects are worse the younger you are.
Yeah, you usually associate this with young children, you know, probably 6 and younger.
It's considered one of
case?
the classic childhood diseases that all children before the age of vaccines used to probably get in around 3 to 6 or 7 years of age. The problem now is that it is striking our infants the most, or the infants have the highest incidence rate, that is the number affected, and they also have the highest morbidity rate, that is the severity of the illness. And in fact, they can even die from it.
What makes children most vulnerable? Is it something that we all inhale, or we can all have within us, and just they're younger and not as developed?
That's probably a large part of it. The pertussis, or whooping cough germ, is a bacterial germ that is only thought to infect humans. So it's actually passed from human to human. It's not out in the environment or in animals. It's a human pathogen or germ. And it inflames the airways of the throat, as well as it can cause pneumonia. And there are two things that probably operate to make children more at risk. One is their relative lack of immunity. Since they're younger, they haven't been exposed to the germ as much as people who have survived into adulthood, in the old days at least. And also if you think of a child, their respiratory tract, their airway passages are smaller. So any amount of inflammation blocks them further than, say, in an adult with a big breathing passage. So I think there's probably parts of it, and there are probably some developmental things about children's bodies that are different also than adults' lungs and airways that may be in effect.
So we're talking inflammation. Is that what causes that wheezing sound?
It's really the cough. Well, it's interesting. Pertussis, after all these years of research, there are many different toxins or poisons that come from the pertussis germ, and we're not always sure exactly which one causes which phase of the illness. But the biggest thing about pertussis, or whooping cough, is this chronic, worsening, severe cough. And the whoop that's associated with it is actually after somebody coughs and coughs and coughs and coughs, and those listening are saying, come on, breathe, breathe, and they get to that end of the cough, they've expelled all the air out of their lungs, they take a big breath in, and it's the noise of that air coming back through the airways makes the whoop. This makes it difficult sometimes because children, the infants who I said are at most risk, don't have the lung capacity to take a big like that to make a whoop. So sometimes they just seem to be coughing and then they throw up, and the assumption is, oh, they must have choked. That must be a choking cough. Whereas older children would go and bring in that whoop. And adults will do that as well, but oddly enough, sometimes it's harder to diagnose in adults because they'll be partially immune from previous exposure or from vaccines a long time ago, and so they'll just have a chronic cough that sometimes people attribute to being smokers or having other illnesses. And so it is a difficult diagnosis sometimes to confirm.
There are so many symptoms that are similar to so many other things, including things like the common cold.
Absolutely.
How do you teach doctors to make that differentiation?
It's what we call there has to be an index of suspicion first. One has to think about the diagnosis. Now, things that are more common to pertussis are the chronic nature or the chronicity of the cough. So a cough lasting greater than 2 weeks is often much more likely to be pertussis than other illnesses, colds, flu-like illnesses, which tend to have their coughs get better after 5, 7, or even 10 days. Pertussis in its classic clinical form starts out very nonspecific. You're right. It starts out as just a cold with some runny nose symptoms, not much fever, and so mostly the early pertussis diagnosis is missed even when we're suspecting, unless we're in the middle of an outbreak and we test people early. Yeah. Then there's a several-week period of this increasingly violent cough. So it's really the increasingly violent cough that's chronic that should make the physicians think about, or healthcare workers, physicians and nurses think about pertussis. And then afterwards, there's what's called the third stage, is the convalescent stage. That can really last for weeks to months of this cough as it goes away. So even when we use antibiotics early in the disease, it may lessen the severity of the whooping cough. But generally, we're diagnosing it about the time the cough is getting chronic. We use the antibiotics to try and stop its transmission from person to person. But once you're that far in, for reasons we don't entirely understand about what's happened inside the airways, that cough will go on for weeks. In fact, in some countries, there are translations of whooping cough, meaning long cough or the 100-day cough. It's really a several-month illness in some sorts of situations.
Well, let's talk about these numbers. What makes you suspicious, or what do you think could be behind such a large jump from one year to the next?
That's actually a cause of a lot of consternation, and it's a lot of interest right now in research. Many of the childhood illnesses, such as mumps and measles and pertussis, 100 years ago, before vaccines came out, or 50 to 100 years ago, had natural cycles of disease. And it does seem that pertussis was worse every sort of 3 to 5 years. So our last big pertussis, if you look at the numbers in the United States, the last big outbreaks were in around 2005 or 6. So one thought is this is just a natural cycle, like sunspot cycles or other cycles that we don't understand, and we just have to live with it. Another thought, though, backed up by some research, is that our current vaccines, which are much safer than the older vaccines, so they're still great, they're still very effective, but they may not be lasting as long as we thought, even though we give booster vaccinations. And the reason we say that is because it does seem that children from about 7 to 10 or 12 have had relative increases in their disease over the last few years, whereas adolescents who have been getting their booster shot around 10 to 13 years of age, their relative rate of disease has fallen. That's an unusual pattern. At one time, it was younger children were the ones who got pertussis sort of around school age. In the 80s and 90s, it was the teenagers we were worried about. Now it seems to be going back. And that suggests that maybe our vaccines aren't lasting as long as we thought.
So if you're, go ahead.
Okay, I just might want to make one statement, though, because everybody thinks when they hear, okay, the vaccines aren't as good, that means we don't need them. But you have to realize that in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, before we started even with the old pertussis vaccine, we used to have 200 to 400,000 cases a year of pertussis in the United States. Pretty commonly 200 to 300, and it was unclear how many we were reporting because it was mostly just diagnosed clinically. The diagnostic tests were less good then. So to be talking about now where we're concerned because the number is up compared to 1980 when we had a low point in this country of about 6,000 or 10,000. cases during the year. Now we're talking about 20 to 25,000. It is a definite jump over the last decade or so that we're concerned about, but it's nowhere near what we used to have in the 1950s. So the parents should still be confident and desiring of their infants and children to get vaccinated.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you.
So.
Dr. Jeffrey Weinberg of the University of Rochester Medical Center. We have more information about whooping cough on WXXInews.org. You'll find links to the State Health Department and the URMC's resource page on whooping cough.